ADHD Babes, the podcast, a podcast hosted by the ADHD Babes community for the community. Please note, nothing mentioned during the podcast is meant as a diagnosis. If you believe you have ADHD, please seek professional advice and visit or join ADHDbabes.com for help with diagnosis. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. And now, you're listening to the next episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. Thank you to everyone who's joined us by listening so far. And don't forget to follow so you never miss an episode, and also rate, review, and share so that others can find us too. So, today's episode is hosted by me, Renee, and
me, Amoya, and today we're going to discussing burnout, how it can manifest in various ways due to varying causes. We'll look at physical signs of burnout, emotional and mental signs as well, internal and external factors that can contribute to burnout.
And joining in on the discussion, we're joined by our ADHD babes, Rihanna and Shauna. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So that our listeners can get to know a little bit better about you, can you introduce yourself, your pronouns, and a bit about what you do? Rihanna, let's start with you. I hope I pronounced it correct.
Yeah, Rihanna's fine. Thanks for having me, guys. So my name's Rihanna. I'm a social worker. I'm a mum. Other things alongside that. So also a partner, a daughter, sister. So and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you. And now, Shauna, can you introduce yourself, your pronouns, and a bit about what you do?
Hi, I'm Shauna, she, her. I produce this lovely podcast, but outside of it, I work in tech.
Thank
To
you.
meet you both. Right. So, burnout can happen to anyone. I like to say often that burnout is gay. I'm in this really horrible relationship with burnout and we need to break up. But it can just so this is a really important episode for me. But burnout can be manifested for a number of reasons and a combination of stressors. These could include work-related burnout, autistic burnout, academic burnout, caregivers burnout, social, relational burnout, and a combination of these. I mean, the list is endless. And these can also be compounded but marginalized people across different actors of society, for example, disability, race, sexuality, and gender. The list goes on. So we'll start by just getting you guys feedback. Have you been burned out? Do you know what it looks like when someone is burnt out? What may it look like for you? Whoever wants to go first.
Okay. In terms of burnouts, so your question was, have you been burnt out?
Are people burnt
I
out?
would
Yeah.
say I'm currently burnt out, if I'm honest with you.
What's
So
up?
when I saw, the messages about today's podcast, I thought, you know what, this is actually a good chance for people to understand what it actually is. And I don't think many people understand that burnout is a very serious thing, but also ADHD burnout is a whole different ball game. And it's not just us going crazy. It's not us exaggerating normal life problems everyone has. It generally is something that everything just becomes hard to do. And then you just completely shut down and not want to do anything, because not really want to do anything you want to, but you're just not able to. You have this sort of mental paralysis and you just can't, you find yourself not being able to even function usually, So I guess what it looks like in my view, not wanting to socialize, not wanting to do anything for yourself, not taking care of yourself. I don't know, it could just be self-neglect. Everything else could look good, but you neglect self. So that could be eating. I do that very often, hardly eat sometimes. It could be wanting to go to the gym but just can't because again you have no time because other things become priority. And then parenting on top of that. My house could be an absolute mess. There's very often where things misplace, you forget things. Forgetfulness is a massive thing as well with burnout. Like you just end up forgetting things. You feel miserable all the time and think complain more than usual. Just about stuff. feel very negative. What else have I noticed? Lack of interest in doing anything at all that isn't being at home. And even then, sometimes like, do I want to be home? Do I want to be out? I just haven't got the energy, mental energy or capacity to take on anything, anyone right now. So currently, my way of sort of separating myself to recover from burnout is coming off social media. I think that's been great for me. Some people taking it personal, but I really don't care. Seriously. I think it's, again, it just goes back to people, you know, use social media as a way to validate friendships or relationships, and that someone actually is okay. I just think it was not here some years ago. We found other ways to deal with life, and we don't need to be on it sometimes, take in the world's problems and deal with your own sometimes, you know?
That part.
So that's been helpful for me, I think, just to reset, you know, recenter myself. But also recognizing when it's happening and how you're gonna undo it, or just take time for yourself.
Very comprehensive. Very relatable as well.
Yeah, everything about
Like
that is
very
really
describing my life right
With
now.
sympathetic.
Thank you, Rihanna. How about you, Shona?
yeah, definitely been burnout. I suppose Rihanna said everything about like that ADHD burnout cycle. I definitely have not initially noticed that I was in that cycle. I think one thing that I've found really difficult is that a lot of the signs of burnout could just be ADHD symptoms. And because it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm always tired. But how much more tired am I on today? Or, you know, like I generally have an aversion to eating. So it's kind of like knowing whether or not it's just me being forgetful and not eating, or whether or not I'm literally just like not able to do anything. I mean, everyone will know from the year break of this podcast that burnout is real, and it takes so long to, I think for me, it just takes so long to pull yourself out of it. That's the worst, because you know that you have to do it, and yet knowing is not necessarily the same as being able to do it, if you know what I mean.
Yes. And I'm pausing and thinking deeply, because that's exactly where I am now. Like, the same as you, Rihanna. Like, I'm literally it went from being funny to not funny at all. Like, for me this year, as I said, burnout is bane, and there's nothing. I don't want to be in this relationship. It's awful. It's terrible. And at the start of the year, it went from like, and I can laugh because this is my life. Like, I've been burnt out, I think, my whole life. But this year particularly, I think if anything defines 2024, it's just been burnout. At the start of the year, it went from every 6 weeks, and then it went to every 4 weeks, and then it became every 2 weeks. And then, like, even over the last month and a half, 2 months, it's kind of been like every week I'm like depleted, and there's so much at stake. It's like your immune system becomes compromised because your health is just, you know, you're all over the place. Maybe you're not sleeping, you're not eating well, as you guys have mentioned. And it's that kind of trying to recalibrate, you know. And for me, when it's happening at this frequency, it's like you're trying to reset and to get yourself back on track, as you said, Shauna. It's just so exhausting. And to go through that loop so consistently, I'm like, as I said, we need to break up. But this is kind of like, I've known this
She's
for
bae for
so
life.
long. Bae for life. I somebody help me. I don't know where the health lines are. Maybe this is what this is. But, you know, it's like, it's not funny. And it's like, you know, as you said, sometimes it can just be the symptoms of your condition, or if you have other comorbidities. But it's kind of something that, at least for me, and then even in conversations with friends, like, maybe because it's not been this frequent for me up until this year, but I remember having a conversation. I've had a few conversations over the last couple of months with friends, and they're like, you know, people that this is a foreign language to them, you know, self-care isn't just, you know, looking good. I said, I'm looking really raggedy right now because I'm recovering from burnout, and this whole trying to be a baddie out the window. You know, and I had a friend, and she's like a masseuse and a beauty therapist, and she's like, I don't understand this talk that you're talking of, like, that you're constantly burnt out. There is nothing to celebrate in that. You know, you can be bossing it and you can be doing all these things, but this is your health. Like, it's even bordering on a sin. And when she said that, you know, when you're just having a conversation and someone is just talking normally, I was like, she just read me. Like, what? It's like this. I really just had to pause and be like, wow, like this is so normal to me. And this is
Mm.
such a foreign language to other people. And this is my baseline, like this boom and bust. So I think it's a really important conversation.
Don't you feel like from what you said when you are burnout, because it's a conversation that people have to have with someone in order for them to understand it, especially I guess ADHD burnout, is that like when you are burnt out and you're like stuck in bed or you're stuck on the sofa or you're stuck wanting to do anything but being exactly where you are, like people don't see that. So they're just like, oh, you do it if you want. Like, you do not understand. Like, I want nothing more than to do everything that I want to do. Like, trust me. Nothing. No one is more annoyed by the situation than I am.
Very frustrated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yes.
speak.
Recently, I found it exhausting to explain to people, and I get to the point where I think I'm gonna have to stop.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
because
self-care.
yeah, because only recently I've been diagnosed with ADHD, but the symptoms I've had has lasted a long time. I'll say probably more so the past 4 years I've noticed symptoms much more, but then again, that was like fair enough, COVID happened. I like being inside the house, to be honest with you. Of course, it was an unfortunate time, but I think it was more so the amount of changes that happened at the same time. Also, because I was only 2 years old, so that was just a lot to deal with. So, and then obviously living alone after that, that sort of increased the anxiety and I guess world pressures and life pressures that you have responsibilities. But people don't really tend to believe that you have ADHD in the first place. So that's why I'm just tired of explaining it to people as to why my fatigue is different to everybody else's. I'm currently battling the lazy label, where people want to refer to you as lazy, and it's like, you really understand every single day how much it takes to just get to work, do work, get my son ready for school. Those things in itself, by 9 o'clock, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even get out of bed in the first place. Recently, I've had to quit my job because of burnout, and again, explaining to people, you feel bad for doing so, but it's the reality of it all,
I can really relate to that because I've been recently diagnosed throughout my life, my childhood, through uni. I feel like from uni, I was going uni during COVID. I think from that point onwards, the burnouts was just more frequently. Literally last year, I was in and out A&E thinking, what's wrong with me? I'm thinking I keep on having like heart attacks, but find out nothing's wrong with me. It really affected my job role. I had to leave the role. And the thing is, it was like a really great role. It was very high paced. I was like a 9-9 call handler, so it was very high paced. Every day is different. Like it was what you want, a change. It's not the same one, but so burnouts got really bad to the point that I was doing nothing in the house. My partner was doing everything, and it was like I was fortunate enough for my partner and family to understand the burnout. Like for my family, like they're Jamaicans, so it's kind of like still them trying to understand what I'm saying in a bit. Sometimes it's like, are you lazy? Are you just using it now? Are you using it all the time? But
Yeah, and Jamaicans, I feel like, love to use the L word.
yeah. It's the top word, but sometimes like when you explain and they're like, you love use that. You love use that. So yeah, like burnout is I feel like it feels much harder when you're battling ADHD because I feel like ADHD itself is like it burns you out. Even like with friendships, like if my friends didn't have ADHD as well, like I don't know what I would do. That situation, the friends I'm around, the friends I have, like my really close friends, they have ADHD, and luckily my partner's friends have autism, so he understands and he's very patient with me. But yeah, literally burnout, you know. But if we go and explain it so the listeners will understand that physical burnout does look like headaches and migraines, which I didn't know was burnout because I have chronic migraines. So imagine having chronic migraines and then the increase of migraines, and you're just thinking that your condition, and you're realizing that you're really burnt out. It's the fatigue, exhaustion, and lethargy, muscle pain and tension, physical stress manifesting, such as teeth grinding and heart palpitations, insomnia, sleep disturbances, or sleeping all the time, you're like tired all the time, skin rashes and allergic reactions, heightened senses that can lead to a sensory overload, and dry eyes and skin, loss of appetite, and other gastrointestinal issues, increase in infections as well. And apart of physical, there are emotional and mental signs of burnout. And just back to you, Rihanna, just to go a little bit further, like how has this kind of like affected you mentally? Like, how was it for you? And do, do you ever feel like it's unnoticed by others as well? Or like, do everyone notice, but as you said before, may not understand?
See, okay, start with my parents. They don't accept my diagnosis because they think I should go and pray about it.
The usual.
So that's that. So okay, to be fair, like they would encourage me to stop taking on too much. So I've always been a person that always wants to do something else and better myself in some way, or something interests me. I'm like, I need to do that. But with the point, I'm like, I don't think I can take on anything more unless it's easy to do or to sort of, I could pace myself doing it. So I think because I've like achieved a lot from, say, like, I don't know, since 17 till now, I think my body feels it, and I think I'm ready to sort of chill out a bit and not take on any more and just enjoy life and just parent and do a bit of traveling here and there and, just resting a bit more. And I don't really know how to do that. I don't know how to sit and read a book anymore like I used to pre teenage life, So I need to like find those things. So in terms of friends, I have some really close friends that do understand, have accepted me for who I am prior to even knowing I had ADHD. My partner is absolutely amazing at understanding it. I think he saw my symptom before I realized, to be honest with you. And he was a massive help in understanding, the psychologist understanding who I was and
Yeah,
the symptoms and how it presented and things I didn't even know he realized about me, he did.
really.
Um, so I think I'm really privileged to have him in my life to know that, okay, if I do vent about it, he knows exactly what I'm going through. And him having his own needs as well, it helps me to also know that someone gets it. So if I do feel just absolutely tired from doing the parenting, when I'm down doing errands, he gets it. So I don't
Yeah,
have to explain myself too tough there. Um, but yeah, I think it's the older generation, I think, explaining that. I think it's same with managers at work. Like, unless they have children or I don't know of their own that have or go through it, they don't understand, they don't get it. And I'm quite tired of explaining it to them, to be honest with you. I sometimes offer to show them my the GP report that psychologists can do. I've offered like to show them that just so they know about it. I've had to
yeah,
refer people to look at links and Google things like
Ain't
inattentive
no one
ADHD. People
seeing
don't
my
know about
report
that.
if they don't have to.
You know what? I'm trying to just show people that this actually is real. Like, can you not
yeah,
think it's just in my head? I'm not trying to like find a label here. I don't care about a label. And sometimes, you know what? I wish I didn't have it, but sadly, it's something that I struggle with,
yeah,
and it is who I am. So, it's just really hard to master it without medication day to day. Do you know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
so I think just dealing with people is difficult at times. But I'm getting to the point I think where I'm just like, I don't really care anymore. Like, if you know I've got it, fine. If you can't accept that,
good.
whatever. And I make sure
Mm.
that it's in employment
Yeah.
contracts, because if you don't accept me and make adjustments to me, then
Yeah,
I would hesitate to go to an employment solicitor. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't really need to be arguing with you anymore, and you're not going to dismiss me for it either. So
yeah.
let's try. Anyway, I could rant about that all day, but I
Yes.
won't.
Thank you for that. And Shauna, what about you? Because you said that, that you are one of the directors for ADHD Babes, but also you do tech work. So how is that for you mentally? Like when you have the burnout, how does it affect
Um,
you?
it definitely obviously affects your focus and how much you can actually get on. And I think because I guess I attribute this to my ADHD, but I'm very good at problem solving and I do it quickly. And my job is problem solving. And so I'm guessing most people would notice the difference. I work from home and like my work know about my ADHD. So they're quite accommodating. Um, and so I feel like if I become slower, I'm just the same pace as my other colleagues. So they don't worry so much. Um, but it's kind of like things in running the podcast. Like sometimes I literally just cannot get work done. Like I tried for about 6 months to get this back up and running after being burnt out. And to be fair, I'm saying I was burnt out, but I did have other things going on as well. Like my granddad passed away, so that was like on top of the burnout and on top of everything. So it was like piling up. But it's like literally sitting, like going, I'm going to do this, and getting to the point where you can sit and do in front of your computer, in my case, and be like, okay, I'm going to write the script, or I'm going to organize this episode, or I'm going to respond to this client email, and I can focus on it. You just can't focus shit. Like you just can't focus. And that's been really hard. I think part of my diagnosis and like finding out who I want to be going forward is like stopping that people pleasing. And I think that comes out the most for other people in when I'm burnt out. So when I'm burnt out, I will not talk to anybody but my parents and my partner. Like anybody. You won't hear from me. I don't care who you are. Like my partner only really does it because he lives with me. I can't really ignore him. And I know that my parents will get on my case. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I will talk to them. But even then, they'll know they might not hear from me for a few days, and they'll be like, "Call me?" Question mark. Like so, even they know. But then other people, I would say they because of that people pleasing before and what they're used to of me spending 30 something years knowing me, or however old they are, because I'm in my 30s, they might not be. It's then realizing that I'm choosing myself and trying to put myself first instead of like being burnt out and trying to push through it to please other people make sure that they're okay. I'm now going, nope, actually, I need to do what I need to do, which is to cut myself off for a bit so that I can get myself into the mental space without having to take on other people's emotions and their baggage. And in doing that, I'll always push myself to the side and I won't actually deal with the burnout. And then it just gets worse. But because I'm now not doing that, they're kind of like, well, you don't call me. That's fine. Like, I'll call you when I call you. No, that's me. No, that's me, or don't. But I'm not doing it anymore. Like, I'm not going to put myself out and put myself into a bad place just so that I can make sure that your emotions are good. That's on you. Like, that's on you. So I think it's just one of those. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. Like I think it's the emotional, having to deal with other people's emotions, of dealing with who you are now and who you need to be just to have self-care and to get out of those cycles, because like you said, they happen frequently. And I also find that I feel like it's worse in the winter, because I feel like maybe I have a little bit of like the sunlight, what is it called, sad. But every winter I just never want to go out. I'm just like over it. And I don't know if that's because
Don't remind me, please. Let's just
What?
spell in the sun whilst it's here, because honestly, I'm on a flight in my head already. That winter, that SAD is demonic.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys ever feel like people just don't understand that you need to take time for yourself, and they expect to continue to put their needs above your own.
Yeah, I used to, before I had a language for it, I would say, I'm at my people quota. I think for me, people get a bit confused because I present as being an extrovert, but they don't know when that split switches. As you said, I don't want to talk to anyone. Like this last week, I'm ghost to everyone, and I had a friend who went, "Oh, please, what are you talking about? About your people? You were not you were outside my car," and she's doing it like comedically, but I'm like, babe, I'm actually being serious. Like, okay, last week I could have been very sociable, but now I have zero energy, and it's just kind of like having people that understand to this extent that it's like, even if you're just sending me a meme, I don't even have energy to laugh. Like, if you think that is like the bridge between having a full, I don't have the capacity for that. And then for you to personalize it, and like, I will give her your phone. I'm just like, what? I can't do this right now. And then it's just kind of like, you feel sometimes you have to babysit other people's emotions. And even like, if people understand, like, life still goes on. For example, now my mum's in Nigeria, and because I have so much going on. She's calling me, asking me for dress designs for a wedding in December. Do you think I care? I don't care. I don't have capacity.
You
I'm
know
literally
that
just
December the 1st or December the 1st, you can deal with it.
Understand? Like, give me like 7 days notice. I don't need like you be telling me about things in June for December. No.
calling with my phone. I'm just like, babe, you don't understand. I'm just trying to get through the day. And that becomes a chore within itself that I understand. And even, I can't even say too much so that people don't identify themselves, but those friends that don't have that level of grace, that are very like, I will be a personal person. Like, I don't care if you're going to the world, but I'm just like, you don't get to dictate who my select people that have that grace for when I'm in this period are. I remember this friend being like, oh, I'm part of that list. And I'm just looking at her like, girl, you are not, because the pressure is too much for me. This link is not getting shared with anybody. Anyway.
No. Not as similar. It's very similar.
Yeah, and then she was like, oh, but just because you've got stuff going on doesn't mean that the world stops everyone else. I'm just like, I don't think it needs to be this level of conversation. But right now, I'm just looking for my peace of mind. And I think to have that conversation is really exhausting. And it's better, text friend. I just messaged her saying she's been calling me. I'm just like, listen, I'm not doing too great right now, and I'm just trying to get my rhythm back and find my mojo. And she's like, okay, well, look after yourself. But that's a major improvement, because before it was taken so personal. So yeah, dealing with other people's energy, that can be quite exhausting. Definitely.
Yeah.
See, when I was at CES, the psychologist mentioned low maintenance friendships, and I thought, oh, I didn't even know that existed.
Oh yeah,
But I
get
saw
used some of
exactly what
those.
she meant. Because as much as I'm that person that, people can come to and they know if they call me, I will answer. I'm always there for friends. But I hadn't realized that my version of that is people that do take things like that personal, having your space or going a bit quiet. If they know, like, your friends that are close to you would never, in my view, take it or should take it personal. As in the ones that I have, that is, the ones that I'm close to don't take it personal. They know something's up and they'll text me and say, just thinking of you, you've crossed my mind. They'll probably try to call, haven't got through, and say, you know what, she's taking her time, but she knows where I am and she'll come to me. Those friends that know you and know that those are the friends that you need to deal with. Not the ones that you see display picture gone and whatever. Like, honestly, that's just
It's a friendship over there.
yeah,
Like, people that don't
Bye.
understand. Yeah.
There's
Well,
a
if you're
few-
only going to talk to me when you're prepared to talk to me, then I can't do this friendship. Bye, babe.
yeah.
Bye.
What's
Is
funny
that,
is
yeah,
about
and the
is
thing
about
is,
that those people are actually the people who will only talk to you when they're good and ready. Like, when you need to call them, they're not answering their phone. Like, you know what I mean?
thank you. So when they go quiet and they have their moments and you say, "Do you know what, they're taking time for themselves," but then when it's you, it's a whole different story. I've realized that.
2020 was a
Yeah,
blessing.
yeah,
Bye-bye.
yeah.
Bye-bye.
And they don't realize that people with ADHD, I don't know if about you guys, but I actually don't care when that happens. Like, I literally have, I sometimes I try,
Zero fucks.
try,
Zero.
but I generally don't miss when people go. If they go, so sometimes they just about cross my mind. And then something reminds me of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I was friends with them like last week or like 2 months ago or 5 years ago. And it's just one of the things, I move on. If it's not there, I don't remember it's there unless something activates that memory. So it's a shame that I couldn't care any more than that.
I mean,
It's
is it though?
is right. Is it really?
No,
I don't know.
It's kind of like the regulation that you need for yourself, because I don't know for you guys, but like, feeling things so intensely, like, that's a lot to care that much all the time. And
Yeah.
it's actually interesting that we have this conversation, because even with dating, I find it quite interesting. Like, I'm getting all sorts of rubbish messages. I'm like, "Oh, so you're alive, and do you care about me?" I'm like, no, I don't. I think you're probably never going to hear from me again,
What is like
because I
impulsive
can't be
reaction?
bothered to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no.
Luckily for me, it's weird. Like, I have a group, a girls group chat, and I rarely reply, but they know I'm alive and they know I'm okay. Like, one of the friends, like, me and my partner just say she lives here in a funny way, because she could come to my house anytime. She's that one friend, like, if I'm in the most terrible mood, I know I can count on her to like deal with things for me and all of that. And then my other friend, but she doesn't live close. So sometimes I'll just pop up and they're like, "Oh, hi." okay, you're back and talking. And then I'll start talking for 10 minutes and then I'll disappear again. And they're just okay with it. They reach
Yeah.
a point. Some friends will look at me like, oh, you haven't talked with me how long? Like, but with them, it's just like, I could just disappear and they know I'm okay.
Mm.
And then it's like, okay, you're here and you're not here. And then my friend also does it to me too. And I know she's alive. I know where she lives.
Mm.
Like, if it's worst case scenario, she's having a mental health day, she can just text me. But when you have those days where you just want to be alone, it's quite fun. It's just like, yeah. And sometimes it's just naturally you just don't remember because like you're so burnt out that sometimes my partner will be my reminder. Oh yeah, remember you need to text this person. So you haven't replied to. I'm like, yeah, I will. Or I just let them text. My partner, he texts them for me and just tell them like I'm not in it to talk to people.
So
Yeah.
there was this occasion like 2 years ago, and I think I can't even remember what happened, but my friends were calling me. I never called them back, and they knew that particular game. I don't even think I was burnt out, but I always play games a lot when I am burnt out. So maybe I was because I spent like 2 weeks playing this game, and I just didn't reply. And about 2 weeks later, he texted me and he was like, "Can you just tell me you're alive?" I was like, "I'm alive, babe. Sorry, I forgot." That's great. I'm alive.
Yeah, we're aligned, but and I think that everybody, even if it's not ADHD or autistic burnout, burnout is hard to kind of come out of. But I think particularly, I even have like a coaching session on it. I don't think people understand how severe it is. Like burnout, you guys have both mentioned having to leave jobs. I've had to do that, and that could take a year. That could take 2 years. Like when it's really severe. It's severe, like you have to recalibrate your life. So having people that are very understanding and patient is very, very important because that just adds like another weight to it where you feel like you constantly have to answer questions to people. I remember a cousin one time and he was just like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I'm like, I'm just like, just taking it slow, just baby steps, just trying to find my rhythm slowly again. Oh, all these baby steps you're talking about, like I'm always talking about baby steps. I'm like, started going off on me, and I was like, wow, like you don't even know what I'm going through, like how much I've completely depleted and how much work it's taken for me to rebuild. So sometimes even it's self-care to like manage those relationships because people just are responding to you based on the way they navigate life. But their experience is very different to yours. And some of those like insensitive or ignorant comments can really set you back a bit.
Just to counter that, I think sometimes they can be helpful too. Like I agree, that situation is definitely like one that is not helpful. But like I had a time where I burnt out at work. I was just really stressed. The ones where you're like, I need to get this done, stop giving me more work kind of thing. And then things just piling on. I end up getting tension headaches, like so bad. I literally was just like, what the hell? Like I've never had a headache, and it was just constant. And my boss wouldn't believe me. So like one of my team decided to leave that day and I was already feeling sick. And I had said to him, "Can I go home?" And he said, "No, wait." So I'm there with like this headache, can barely keep my eyes open. I'm like, he brings me into a meeting to demote me. And then he goes, "So what do you have to say about that?" And I said, "Well, I just told you I've got this banging headache where I can't even think straight. And you want me to give you an answer. Can I go home now?" I went home. Luckily, I did have a week off. And what actually helped was my partner going, "Let's play this game." And he introduced me to a game he likes. And he thought, "Oh, you'll like this game." We ended up playing the game for 2 months. But that's not the point. It didn't make me feel better. Like I did get better after that week that we had off and we were just in, and he was actually so helpful in getting me out of that burnout. So I do think that, like Amoya was saying, there's sometimes just that one person. It has to be the person you select, because otherwise if someone else would have suggested it to me, I would have been like, fuck off. Like
I think it's in a major part of my self-care to curate. It's not people that want to put themselves in that category for you, but to know who those people are for you. So yeah, I mean, leading on from that, emotional and mental signs of burnout, we can discuss that a bit. And so that can look like mood swings, increased irritability because people are annoying, Low motivation and low mood. You kind of discuss some of these things, feelings of anxiety and fear, feelings of hopelessness and despair, feelings of detachment and isolation, negative self-talk, self-doubt, reduced self-esteem, unsustainable coping mechanisms. So, there are, as we've mentioned, there's physical signs, but these also emotional signs about that. And it can be hard to identify being burned out when you have ADHD, as you mentioned earlier, Shauna, as many symptoms overlap. And even if you have other comorbidities, that can overlap as well. So, what is ADHD? What is life just lifing? And what are signs of burnout? Let's just.
Do you know what? I'm looking at like the things that you just said about emotional burnout, and quite frankly, they sound like the same things that you have if you go a long time being undiagnosed. Like, if you're undiagnosed and you don't know that you have ADHD, you'll have increased mood swings and irritability. You'll have low motivation. Your anxiety will get worse. Like, I think it depends on whether or not you already know you have ADHD. Because then you can kind of be like, oh, okay, this is what my normal is, and this is what my burnout is. But I just think like all of those things could also look like ADHD, just undiagnosed.
I think I diagnosis. I think for me, I'm like, so I got diagnosed 2 years ago, and then my NHS diagnosis or waiting list for referral after like 3 years finally came through. So I did another test last year. Not like, oh Lord, I don't know time, last week.
That's a
And
bit
that was
different.
like, oh, it kind of reminded me, yeah, you have ADHD. Yeah, and it was like reaffirming. I was like, I know I had this, but it's like when you're talking through your symptoms again, it's like, oh yeah, forgot about that. So I think it's, as I said, for me, I have a host of other lovely chronic conditions that I have to deal with, and I think that this year particularly, as I mentioned, because I have this like reoccurring burnout, I think I'm now going to have to go back to the drawing board if I've just got, well, I am going to get my NHS diagnosis again, even though I know, but it's like going back to the drawing board and being able to like maybe like take an audit of my life, because as I said, having this level of burnout so frequently, as much as I always experience burnout, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. It's just got to a level where I'm like, this can't be my baseline anymore. So I really have to kind of examine and just pay more attention. And maybe even, like a parent would be like keenly looking out at their child and looking at symptoms and changes and temperature and all that. Like it feels like a chore, but I feel like that's what I now have to do to manage my health, because if you don't have that kind of like keen attention to detail, it can just be, overlooked as just, oh, just ADHD. But life as well, let's be honest. It's just really those crossovers between trying to manage life, trying to manage external, internal stresses, managing your ADHD, all this adulting. As I said, I want someone to parent me, because it's quite long.
See, I'm with Shauna in relation to the bereavement. So I have had a number the past, say, 4 years, and people just don't understand that, the whole grief process doesn't last a month or two, or when everyone forgets about the funeral, when someone like goes, like, even recently, like my nan passed last year, and she's someone that, cared for me, and I lived in Jamaica for a while. So this is my mother, you understand, my second mom, who no one can tell me it's not my second mom, do you understand? So people don't realize that losing a parent, so forget grandmother, losing a parent is crazy. And then when it was her, like the anniversary of her burial, I feel like like last month, I think it hit me more, just why I had to kind of step away from work, step away from social, and just being from around people, to understand that I have to deal with those feelings, but then also be a parent. So people need to realize that I have to draw myself in different directions. I have to still make some money, still parent, still grieve, but also try and be a friend, or try and be a partner, and many other things above, which again, if you have ADHD, that's hard to do. And then to have everything else, you know?
I wish that, like they have those simulators. I wish people could just like spend a day in a life. I don't know if you guys watch Rick and Morty, but there's an episode of
Yeah.
Rick and Morty where he like plugs into this game and he thinks that he's like this guy called Alan and he lives out, I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
Alan.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
lives like his entire life. So like he grows up and finds a family and has a family. And because he's in this, like he doesn't know, his brain's like taken over. That's what I wish people could just have that experience and wake up and realize they don't have ADHD. Well, lucky for you. Well,
Yeah.
not so lucky because I do think there are some good things in there that other
Mm.
people could use from learning.
Mhm.
But then I think that if you can actually understand what it's like to actually the effort that we have to go to life, then I think it will be easier for other people to understand. I really do think because it's something that some people will never experience to the extent that we might, or the frequency that we might, that they're just kind of like get a grip kind of thing. And you're like, actually, no, just when you see me looking all together, that takes a lot of energy. And this is why I'm down here again. And I think knowing that you're prone to it, you can then also like look at like kind of like Rihanna was saying, like just know what are your priorities and you
Yeah.
can say, okay, this is what I'm willing to put my energy towards, or I'm willing to things, and having that someone who can, I'm guessing your partner Rihanna would be like, don't worry, I'll take the kids kind of thing, like someone you can share that with. So when you do burn out, you're kind of like, go have a bath, go do this, you lay in bed, smooch on Netflix, whatever it is, that you can take the time to do that. And some people aren't afforded that, like some people have children, don't have their partner around, or just need to pay their bills and so push through or something like that. I don't know, I'm making up things here.
No, but you parents though, you pay.
Mhm.
Can you hear the clapping? Medals, flowers, confetti.
Wait, I got something for that. I've got
sound
something like
effects, please, because
Yeah.
conversations, because I cannot. Even the thought of it, I have anxiety.
I will make a note though that my partner actually lives elsewhere, so we do sort of semi-long distance kind of thing, but we both have children. So again, so we see each other not as often as I guess the average couple,
Mhm.
but at the same time we talk every day. We talk about each other's day, etc. We see each other, make time for each other, and that kind of thing. So that helps a lot. But again, it's someone that I don't think I could have found anyone better to have suited me in terms of understanding those needs. So I think it's just crucial.
Funny. Because many people can't have that testimony.
Yeah.
They're here useless people that don't understand, and why aren't you doing this and the other? So
To
for
be
someone
honest,
even to speak
I'm-
well of their partner,
I'm not innocent because this times I've been like, why this, why that, and then I think since my diagnosis, I've been like, okay, let me just shut up and like accept that I have needs,
Yeah.
and also that I have to be mindful of other people's needs as well. So
do.
I
Yeah.
haven't always been innocent myself in understanding those needs. I've been quite perplexed. I've had to really navigate around that. So I haven't been innocent either. However, I think knowing that I have certain needs myself, it makes me, I think, a better mother, a better parent, but also I think the clarity helps to understand how to navigate life a bit better. I think with diagnosis, I think I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I
Yeah.
just thought there was something wrong with me, or just because I literally felt, it sounds really strange, but I literally felt a brain difference. Like 4 years ago during lockdown, I said to my GP, something's weird is happening to my body. I can't explain it. Like I feel like I'm thinking differently. My memory's not the same. I'm so forgetful with stuff. When someone talks to me about something, there's some details I remember, but some I can't. And
Mhm.
again, the more burnt out you are, the more you forget, and you
Yeah.
just can't piece together those memories or the detail that you want to piece out. And other times you can remember everything,
Mhm.
like the back of your hand, you know.
Mhm.
Mm.
For real.
Like,
Exposing Renee.
yeah, because it's like the superpower stuff applies, but when it's on the flip side, like it's really hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And my friend who, she's like, "Oh, be quiet. I have 3 children," and I'm like, as I said, big up females because I'll be hiding from them kids. I'm like, somebody come save me. so many conversations, but it's just we all have different problems. We all have different
Yeah,
struggles, you know.
yeah.
That's why these conversations are important. It's not about a pressure Olympic, like, yes, my life is hard, but it's hard.
Mm,
Also, we just have different kinds of hard. I think that's just what it is. So, yeah, just being more embracing and accepting of that.
I think as well the people around you need to understand that, like Amoya was saying with about her friends, like, you know, I'm alive, you know that I need this time, and like just giving it to me, because like it's so exhausting being so empathetic to everybody else's needs that actually I need to be away from you in order to recover, because otherwise I'm gonna soak up everything that you're giving out, and that's gonna make it worse. So I think having those people that do kind of be like, okay, text me when you're ready is
Yeah.
helpful, because they understand that you need to take the time and you don't need their emotional baggage right now.
Literally emotionally, like recently, I think I came back from a holiday, which wasn't really a holiday. It was like meeting my partner's family, back in Hungary, and it was like when I came back, I felt like I had the worst burnout ever. So usually before the holiday, I'll be around my mum's house, you know, going to visit her, help her out with my nan and stuff, visit everyone. But after that, it was like it was so bad. It was no contact with them. And it was really, really bad until recently. I went back and whatnot, but it was so bad that uh, literally the only person I saw like throughout that period was my little brother, who will come over to my house sometimes, or I'll go over to his house um, to see their cat. Sorry, they them. So their cat, and the cat is really cute. It's like you forget your problems holding the little cat. But it was so bad. Like I was binge eating, which is a terrible thing, but also my coping mechanism. But through that period, my partner was like, okay, what do you want from me? Because, you know, we live together. Sometimes you're going to want your space and whatnot. And especially because of his role, it's really hard for him to, like, he's doing everything. He'll do cooking, cleaning, and I'm just doing nothing. So thinking back to the needs and the priority, sometimes if you have to learn how to adjust your needs, even in the burnout, sometimes I'm like, okay, you know, my partner's doing all this. Let me just cook for him, because I know his shift is gonna be, and sometimes his overtime will be like 2-3 hours. So he'll come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, tired, and then have to go back the next day. Especially with the job that he has, and yeah, it's just that emotional burnout is really bad. Like some days I'll be crying on the phone to him. He'll take and it's not like his job is like, you know, he's on the roads doing it, you know, for safety. Um, Especially during time of so he's doing something for work with his legs as it is sorted. Like angry at him, a sergeant might get angry at him or something like that, and he'll still take that time out just to help me out through that burnout. So yeah, that emotional side of things, I didn't realize it was a burnout until like yeah, now talking about it, yeah, that period of time was a huge burnout. And now finally going back to my family, I was like, oh wow, it was really weird, but now realizing it was a burnout, and yeah, having that one person, like even the mess, I applaud you, Rihanna, because I'm not gonna lie, I had a child. I don't know how would I do all of that with a burnout and still make sure the child has the best, you know, experience all the time. Because really and truly, like even my friend has to come once in a while, and we're like, okay, let's tidy, and we'll start tidying up. Um, so yeah, so literally, like, you know, who isn't burnt out? We're living in dire times, you know, everyone's pretending like it's business as usual. You see what's going on in the country, even like crimes against humanity is what's happening in Congo, Gaza, Sudan, and globally, people are struggling with the rise of cost of daily necessity. Like egg in my local shop used to be like £2 for a 12 pack, and now it's £3.89. And I really looked at the guy like, are you
No.
for real?
No, listen to this one. I went to go, you know, mackerel, the smoked mackerel, right?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, £2.80 made, maybe £3. I went to Tesco the other day, £12.50.
Excuse me? That's 4 times the cost.
£12.50.
That's 4 times the cost. Excuse me?
£12.50.
You can keep your mackerel, you know.
Even
Who?
like
Where
going
the studying that?
to a market, even going to market for saltfish used to be 7 for £10. Now it's like 3 for £7. You're like, when did this happen? Even
I know.
ackee, tin ackee.
Listen, Aki's, I don't buy Aki anymore. I've given up. If I eat Aki's in Jamaica,
Literally,
Do you know what
I
though?
mean,
Don't even like guys,
yeah.
yeah, like you don't even understand, right? You have a privilege to even to be able to go into a shop and buy ackee or saltfish, yeah. I live in Eastbourne. I have to ask my grandmother to send me a care package. So
Because I'll probably be
Yeah.
let's
charging you
not go there.
£40 wherever
No,
you
but
are.
Eastbourne,
So
yeah.
we're saying your fair package and meat. Like, it's crazy.
Even
It's crazy.
even being at Eastbourne yesterday, I was there going into a Greg's, right? The yum yum pack used to be £1. It's
£1?
£1.80 there.
Excuse me?
£1.80 for a
So
new pack.
you can keep your yum yums. I would rather put your things. Don't even get me like.
What do they call it? Watchdog? I feel like I'm like a secret investigator. Every time I go to the supermarket, I'm like, last week, did you see what the price was last week?
but even the price of cereal, like even Cheerios,
I don't even enjoy cereal no more.
Let me just rephrase this. Yeah,
Sorry.
right. Who, yeah, remembers before the pandemic when healthy food was already expensive, yeah? Now
Yeah.
you're telling me the cheap stuff, the bad for you stuff is expensive. Now let's
Yes.
imagine how much we're paying for broccoli nowadays, yeah?
Exactly. Other
Like-
pizzas I'm seeing for £7.50. Like, do you know what? Can we change the topic? Change the
That's it.
topic. 'Cause
Even like
actually,
the housing crisis is not unique to one country. It's impacting all over the world.
globally.
Because we're going to
Yeah.
the crisis means, people are going back home. Like you're seeing like a lot of people going back home, or, for better living
makes
conditions,
sense too.
or going back to live with their parents or co-jointing, And some people unfortunately don't have a choice in, staying in a nice house, has to be overcrowded or just deal with what the landlords are dealing with. Yeah, it's I want to know what everyone's thoughts is it, but before saying, all I'm saying is that for housing crisis, I'm happy with my landlord. Hasn't raised the rent that much. Like for 1 bedroom, 1.2K, like it's going up. I know it's gonna go up this year, but it's been blessed. But I know people rent that went up to 2K just like that. Even like
Yeah,
car
yeah.
insurance as well. If you're driving
Yeah.
just on a bus now,
Mhm.
£1.75 an hour.
An hour.
or less. Yeah, but you know what? They have to raise it. This is the I think the scary thing about it is, okay, interest rates for mortgages have gone straight up, so then landlords now have to be charging. Say, for
Yeah.
example, it is 1.2K for your rent, but then his remortgage now
Yeah.
says, oh, Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so, it's gonna be now 2 grand
Yeah.
per month.
No
for the
landlord's
mortgage.
going to be
That means that your
charging
rent
less
has to
than
go
their
up.
mortgage, though. No one's going to be charging less than their mortgage.
Precisely.
So it begs the question, so what do you want people to actually do? Like, because most people's salaries can't be stretching
Yeah.
that much for that to be rent alone,
And
and then
even
have other people,
not enough social housing as well. So that's the
it's
next thing as
hardly
well.
any.
Honestly, I think that there's this revolution kind of going on at the moment, and it's something that I think is something that constantly cycles. Like it's kind of like the wheel of time, like breaking the wheel, whatever. So I watch way too much TV because I just literally gave you two TV references in one day. I just think that they're like, so they talk about like economic growth and the stability of like the strongest currency. So like before the dollar, it was I think the yen or something like that, something over in Asia. And what made that currency topple was actually civil unrest. And I think that's what we're noticing now, and I think it's exasperating the situation. I think there's two divides of voters in the West. And those voters are either completely for helping those in need, and then there's others that don't want to do that, and you have to kind of meet somewhere in between. Now, I personally think that the governments, I don't know if Renee's making a face, I don't know if she can hear me. I personally think that the governments have to be a bit more focused on the individual rather than businesses. Now, it makes sense to me that you would help businesses, but the thing is that you're also expecting those businesses to pass those things on to their employees, and they're not.
Yeah.
So therefore you're giving like these businesses discounts and stuff like that, but it's still not helping my bottom line. Like, I'm still paying more for rent and having less to do it. But I think honestly, in terms of people leaving and going back, leaving the country, I do also think that's just kind of the way. It's not just about affordability. I think it's also about feeling like you want to be here as an immigrant.
I think recently I've been speaking to people, and many people have felt that, I think, where they're like, what is the point of us being here? And out of interest, yesterday, I did work at the yard yesterday, so I asked some girls from Nigeria, and I said, do you guys think it was worth coming here to work? And they said no, because back home, like as Latin in the Caribbean, we have our houses. Like, if I was in Jamaica now, we have a family house. I don't need to be worrying about no housing and paying rent, that sort of thing. Okay, there's light bill, water, food, but apart from that, and transport or whatever, there's nothing else. So then it says, then people have to think, okay, how can I make money so I can go back home? Because it doesn't make any sense us being here. Like, we've come for our money. It's the only reason we're in these Western countries anyway. Let's be real about that.
And the math is not mathing.
Yeah, math is not mathing. Like,
Exactly.
we struggle in every way just because we're black in the first place. And then when we have our additional needs, then that's even another struggle for us. I have to question, so what do I want from my black son now? How do I help him navigate the world in this crisis? How is he gonna buy a house? What does he have to do to buy a house? Because it's being impossible. If he wanted to even go and rent, where would he go to rent? And for a reasonable price? Because it doesn't really matter nowadays what's, well, I guess the further up north you go, but then the less people like us you see.
Depends where you go, you'll see a lot of
Depends
that.
where you go. Yeah, depends where you go, because there's a few places I'm like, you know what, I wouldn't mind. Like, I move out of London anyway, and it's very diverse where I am. I'm in Northamptonshire, it's very diverse.
Not where
There's loads of Jamaicans around here. Loads of Jamaicans around here. I get my key if I need it, but it's not really a problem. But in terms of housing, like, I generally never even thought about London as a place to stay. Like, lived there most of my life, went to Jamaica obviously to live for a bit, but I cannot see myself living in London. I think about my son as well for his future. What's he going to do in terms of housing? What point is it that
you
everyone's
could never afford.
No, it's just I don't want people to earn anymore. And unless you're some rich person that can just is multi-millionaire and 2K, 3K a month is nothing to you, then good for them.
I think as well,
but,
like,
that
just
affects me
just
is
to
this is all assimilation.
I want to expand on what Rihanna said, because I think if we center it on like our cultures and looking at people of color, we tend to historically lived in more I wouldn't say overcrowded, but you have more people living in your house. You might live with your grandparents. I did. You might live with your aunts and your uncles. At one point I did. Do you get what I mean? So that's already a factor as well. We're also coming from places where there's no wealth that's been passed down in our generation, in our cultures, because we weren't allowed to. So now we're getting to a place where we can have nice things that wouldn't be necessarily put into under the black title, like black person doesn't have £1 million or whatever it is. That can't be said about us. But yeah, we're all, because of how life was back in the day, I wouldn't say it's necessarily perfect, but we all kind of crowded to those cities. Like, our families went to London, they went to Manchester or Birmingham or whatever it is. They went to cities because that's where the work was. And I just genuinely don't believe that anymore. I think it's stupid to say to people, oh, you have to return to the office because you don't know how to, innovate and adjust to life. That it forces people to go and to overcrowd themselves into the cities where there's just no, and then gives the landlords reason to raise the rents because there's more people offering. I did watch Question Time the other day, and one of them, I don't remember which one because they're all the same, they were talking about landlords having bidding wars with tenants. So being like,
Yeah.
oh, this person said they'll pay this, and then like, oh, and then they come back higher and higher, and so the rents keep going up and up. That kind of stuff needs to be legislation, and we need to see it in our governments in order for people to actually take it seriously. Like, or else it's just going to be like, you should do this, but not everyone's moral.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know one thing that scares me about working with other, vulnerable families as well is how simple things you just can't find. How many people once had a job have to go to food banks? The queues for
Mm.
food banks are
Yeah.
crazy. Like, it's something that is very scary. It's
Mhm.
worrying and
Working people.
yeah, I see a lot of older people as well that have to be queuing up for food banks, and just to afford basic things. Like, the way the world is moving, it is quite scary, and I'm just wondering
Mhm.
what is the agenda behind it, and I have no other way, I have no other way of trying to rationalize this.
Maybe it's a lot
Something
to
is up,
compute, but
something is not
it's not
right.
supposed to be like this. It really
No,
isn't. That's why I said it's all a simulation, because this could be policy. This could, if people had care for people and it wasn't about greed and capitalism wasn't driving everything, things would look very different. So
Who
I don't know.
who wants someone neurodivergent to be running the country? I would take I'd take someone with ADHD. I would also take someone with autism.
Yeah.
I feel like we get stuff done. Well, maybe not the ADHD. You might get some stuff done.
We balance out the responsibilities, it's okay. But yeah, diversity
yeah.
looks like that as well.
mm,
So alongside about all of that, we also had COVID, and there was many people who suffered from long COVID, or many people that's caring with people for long COVID. Many people have died from it, from COVID. Long COVID is a patient-coined term describing the wide range of symptoms that last, 12 weeks after an initial COVID-19 infection. It can look like a cough that never goes away, skin issues, new allergies, heart palpitations, extreme fatigue, brain fog, and immune system issues. Now, I've seen it firsthand what COVID can do, as my nan is suffering from long COVID, and it's really bad. Like, she was an active person, she worked for the NHS, overworked, underpaid, and she had COVID to the point that she was in the hospital on ventilator. But after that, that long COVID effect was really horrible. It's like she's learning to do the things that she was capable of doing again, like walking for long periods of time, doing things by herself, all of that. And it does really affect you. I feel like for me, I had COVID like 3-4 times. I think it was 3-4 times, during the time period. And like I feel like the fatigue was really bad after COVID, and even brain fog, just forgetting things. Um, but yeah, so like, have you guys had that long COVID? Has it affected you? How did it affect you? Like, while when you're having a burnout?
I actually never had COVID, so I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful, so I can't relate as
Mhm.
such. The people go through it, sadly. Yeah,
I think the people who still haven't got their taste back,
yeah.
like 4 years in, like, what is food
I
again?
mean, if you don't get the test, as far as I'm concerned, you ain't got it. I haven't. I had COVID once.
No,
I
I
didn't.
said
Oh,
taste.
oh, taste! I thought you said tests. I was like,
No, they're taste
where's this
buds.
track and
They
trace
they
people
just
doing?
eat food and it's just texture.
I did lose sense of taste. I did lose sense of taste with COVID, but it never it kind of went away. The taste did take longer. But everything else kind of went away. I didn't get long COVID. But I'm like looking at it and I'm like, this is an unpopular opinion. I'm just gonna put it out there, because I like to see the positives out of things. This is horrible that people are experiencing this. And it's one of those things where, we didn't know what COVID was or where it came from or what it would do to people. So now we're finding out. But the things that I think that they actually are experiencing are things that not just ADHDs, but a lot of neurodivergent people and disabled people experience day to day.
Isn't it?
And I think disabilities always get like pushed aside. Like if you have a disability, everyone's just like visible or not,
No.
you've experienced some kind of way. And in a way, because this is so widespread, like global, that it might actually give us something that can help us. Like I've seen tech that people like wearing on their arms so they can monitor their fatigue and stuff like that. And I know ADHDers that will actually benefit from those things. Do you get what I mean? So unpopular opinion is the goodness to
Yeah.
come out of it will be that these symptoms will be things that people who deal with these things day to day or have like clinical depression or whatever like that will be able to benefit from what they do to help long COVID sufferers.
Yeah. I feel like also like it brings a light to the long COVID symptoms. It brings a light to other symptoms that you guys may not have noticed that you may have had, but COVID brought it out. So you're like, oh, I had this, and the doctor can investigate further as well. I feel like it is a long progress, and the taste one was really bad when I had COVID. So the first time I had it, I was crying because I couldn't eat food. And because nothing tasted right, I just didn't eat. So it was really terrible to try and I can't force myself to eat if it doesn't taste nice or I can't taste it, I can't force myself to eat. So it was a really difficult time. So I really wonder how people felt like they can't taste. But the smell one, you can think about it in three ways. It's a good thing that you can't smell stinky people, especially in summer. So if you lost your smell, at least you can't smell. So you may think if you think about it.
I'm a nerd, so I'm going to give you some science. Your taste is your nose. So if you can't smell, when you get sick and your nose is blocked, you can't taste anything. It's because it's your nose that's affected, not your tongue. Just for those out there that want you some science.
Fun fact. Oh, it's about a blocked nose. Yeah, I don't know. It's like what they said. There was a rumor saying Skittles, it's the smell that changed,
It
not
is.
the taste.
It is.
Yeah.
That's factual.
So that's really cool. Your smell was that powerful with it as well. But yeah, so we can learn to build and nurture the power of community in order to cultivate. Well, bring hope.
Cultivate.
And getting support and relying on others to share the load if you feel burnt out, trying to rest regularly, saying no when overwhelmed, and practicing COVID safety, which people don't do now, but it was back in the day wearing masks in hospitals and stuff. But also saying no when overwhelmed is a crucial one, because I feel like when you mask and try and act normal and then the overwhelming, you can end up being a pushover or people pleaser if you don't say no, especially when you're overwhelmed. So just learning about that as well and taking time to breathe.
Yeah,
Essentially.
but everybody, to be honest, like we've mentioned mothers. I've seen mothers, friends who don't have an ADHD diagnosis. I just think that everyone could do with a bit of self-care by learning how to say no and putting themselves first. As we said, the world is kind of on fire right now, so that whole put on your mask before you put on anyone else's mask and really finding what peace looks like for you in the midst of a world that's burning down.
And I feel like just a little extra for it. I feel like burnout, especially like us, our race itself, like from the Afro-Caribbean background, I feel like sometimes it doesn't taken seriously. So this may hopefully give insight to those because, especially like when you have Jamaican parents, like even my mom, luckily, she said she always knew like, it wasn't normal. Even if she sometimes called me lazy, but she knew it was something. So just having that insight can help as well. Without every minute you have to be explaining to people that you have ADHD and whatnot. Like, I literally have a article saved just from the perspective from this Caribbean girl explaining her life journey of diagnosing with ADHD. I just send that to people now. It's easier that way. And if they read it, they read it. If they don't, they don't. That's not my business. I already came out and tell you. So yeah.
And I think standing firm in this is and having these conversations is important because, we've talked about so many different arenas that this can show up in and how it can affect your life, whether that's work, whether that's your relationships. Let's say you continued mastering, like, for example, me in workplaces to the point where I became sick, like, bedridden, hospital bound, all that kind of stuff. If you don't learn how to advocate for yourself and like know where your limit is, we, perpetuate this very absurd notion that human beings are robots, that we have this infinite end and we can just keep on going until we break down. That's not normal. That's not like, cheesy, but we're human beings, not human doings. And like burnout has become so normalized in our society, like put ADHD to the side. Like when you are too scared. Like I have friends who are sick. I was even speaking to a friend about this the other day, and she was sick, like very, very ill. And she's like, oh, the day before, it was a Sunday. She's like, oh, do you know what? I don't know. Like, I'm just in so much pain. I don't know if I'm gonna, maybe just ask for the day off. And then I'm like, I know you. Like, you're probably not, true to form. The next day, she's like, I just don't know. I've never taken a sick day off. And this girl has been like to a hospital, had so many ailments, but just doesn't know how to stop. And then these workplaces will be looking at you, you're performing, you're the strong Black woman, but you're literally dying. Your health is eroding. So I think for me, and even I had a manager tell me this, like, oh, let's not even get into it, because I feel like they say all the nice things until it's really time you take that sick leave. And then they get the pushback. He's like, look after yourself, like, don't overwork yourself, like, take that time, because at the end of the day, if anything was to happen to you, the most we do is send your family flowers. When it came to actually taking that time, the way they were pressuring me, even my doctors, the consultants, people were writing letters upon letters, like, leave this girl alone, like, she's not okay right now. And I think that, like, if you don't learn that, like, as I said, put on your mask first, put on your life jacket first, the world will watch you drown. They'll give you all the platitude, they'll say all the nice things, and then, as I said, burnout can be such a difficult thing to not even bounce back from, to rebuild from, So in like a number of things, whether it's like learning the signs, having these conversations, unmasking, taking the shame away from it, because we're all just humans, just trying to figure it out. And I think that the more we normalize knowing what our bandwidth is, the better,
Yes.
in every arena of our lives.
And just listening to your body. Your body knows you the best. So sometimes your body will put into different symptoms that could be like you're just getting a cold or flu every second, and your body just needs you to take a mental break. So just listen to your body. I think that's what's really key.
I feel like there's some helpful things up to expand on that for ADHD is write it down. Don't rely on your brain. You need like take track. Like we just recorded a different episode a couple of days ago, but if you can't remember to take that track, do what I do, and I use tech.
Yeah.
So mine was on your phone.
Recommendation?
Maybe afterwards.
But like things like, what are my triggers? Like what are the symptoms? Just having those kind of like self-care plans that you can kind of take stock. And I think even as we're saying this, and as I said earlier, like I think for me now, when this has happened so consistently, that I need to go back to that baseline and be like, right, like look, a new kid started in nursery, what someone needs me? When is she going? Because that's all you can really do before it gets to that point where it's, so severe, things are just crumbling. So, great discussion, ladies. So to round up the episode, let's recap on what was spoken about. So, what was learned or something that any of you found interesting in this conversation, out of curiosity?
Well, I am happy that it's not just me and I'm not going crazy. So I really appreciate you guys. I think ADHD Babes is a lifesaver because I think I found a community of women that understand and go through the same thing. So I think just having that reminder that ADHD burnout, or just burnout in general, is a real thing.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's good and insightful to understand that you guys get it and you live it every day. And I will remember that like as you said, Renee, that burnout is bait. Although I don't want burnout to be bait. So I
No,
can't
no,
really break
no, we are breaking up. We are
yeah,
breaking
let's break
up.
that. I can't. So I honestly need to, like, I'm trying to fight against it, and I refuse for it to win. So
Mm.
I'm grateful, guys. Thank you for
And give yourself time, I think, as well. Like,
yeah.
it's a major unlearning when you've gone so much of your life, and you obviously said you've only got the diagnosis recently, and you're coming to understand yourself.
What
It
was the
takes
quote I
time.
gave you last year that you posted on the ADHD Babes blog?
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, what?
I'd come back to that. So, yeah, first of all, it's me and my burnout, honestly. So I was having one of these burnout moments, and I was lamenting to show them, like, I can't do it, I'm just so overwhelmed. And you said something to the effect of, like, remember, you know, it was like you're walking backward your whole
So it's
life,
like
and now you're learning
remembrance.
to walk again.
Yeah. So it's like learning to walk
As-
again, but before you're walking backwards, and this time you need to
uh,
learn to walk forward. Something like
uh,
that. Yeah. Something like that.
I could find it. I could find it.
No. It's
I
fine.
don't know.
It's not.
It
It
really
wasn't that
helped me out.
golden.
And, like, thank you, because I might need to use that and bring that back to my arsenal now. But
You're welcome.
yeah, you're learning to walk again. You know, you've gone your whole life thinking that, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? But you just got new feet yesterday. So it's like learning. I'm walking. Oh, that's so sad though when you think about it.
Do you know
But
what?
it's good.
It's
We're
at
learning
least
new
you're on your
skills.
way. You could still be walking backwards. You know, you're on your way.
Yeah. And Moya, is there anything else that you've learned, taken away from the
Just the
discussion today?
overlap of ADHD and just normal burnout, and it just feels like a lot of it's just heightened, and the fact that some of us just have to keep it going, like Rihanna, like being a mom, you just have to keep it going. And it's just interesting to see a different perspective of how, like, it may affect one another, and, like, just dealing with it at workplaces as well. So yeah, it was a really good session.
Deja Happy, was that your thing? Reminded me what you told me?
It can be.
Anything else?
No. Honestly, I just think it kind of what Rihanna says. It's like always comfort in being part of a discussion with ADHD babes, because you don't feel alone in your symptoms anymore. And a bit of what Amoya said with understanding the overlaps, and I think that between like an ADHD diagnosis, I can see why it's so hard for people to get diagnosed in the first place, when these are the symptoms that overlap with not just burnout but like other conditions as well. But I also learned some things, like having your people, having your person or whatever, that list of people, and just like remembering that your life is not about always pleasing other people. You need to kind of, when you need to take a beat, take that beat, take what you need, understanding, what is ADHD life and what is burnout life as well. Like what the difference is.
One day, this, I don't know how realistic it is, because we can want to get to a better relationship with ourselves, or we're not constantly burnt out. But I'm just pausing and reflecting. I'm like, will burnout be a thing of the past forever, or is it just about managing burnout better?
I think it's probably about managing. Like we said, it's a rat race around the time. Everything's fast moving. It's like the world is built for us to burn out. So it's going to happen again, but we need to, like, I guess, minimize it and try to make sure that it's not like taking months out of your life. Maybe it's going to take it a few weeks or a week or a day would be better.
Yeah.
I think environment matters though.
Yeah.
Because I question myself every day, like, if I lived in a different country and, I don't know, had less things to pay for example, or less commitments, etc., like, would I be as burnt out? And I'm thinking, I don't.
You'd still feel that time. You're an ADHD.
Yeah.
It looks different. It looks different.
Yeah, probably a different way, or what exactly would burn me out, But I do think the way how, especially this country or just how things are
Yeah.
going, it's probably exacerbating that.
100%.
Yeah.
Why some people, the highlight of their day is just going down to the beach to frolic. Just go, you know? Like, I remember I went to Tobago
Sorry,
and
guys.
like,
Renee.
so, is there anything that anyone would like to share about what they have coming up? Anything you want to share with the listeners?
Well, they'll probably have had the advert already because it's going to think, but we've got Dear Babes coming up. So don't forget to click the link in the description so that you can post your questions for our special guests, Vivian and Jay Reid. That's all I got coming up because I'm really excited about that. It's the only thing I think about. So
Great. Right. Well, if that's all, thank you so much, Rihanna and Shauna, for joining us today. It's been a wonderful discussion, and I hope that we're all going to just take away some of the stuff we've just discussed to, you know, remind us that we're all in this together. It's been a pleasure to chat and learn more about you both. Would you like to let listeners know where they can find you, connect with you? You know, no pressure, no pressure. You can remain.
you can also say no.
That looks like a no.
I don't have social media like that. And
you're on a break because you're recovering from burnout. So
That's also okay as well. Like you could just be like, I'm a ghost.
Yeah.
I am a ghost, and everyone knows I'm a ghost. So, if when I am back on LinkedIn, for example, then people can feel free to contact me via LinkedIn. But that'll be on there for another 6 months. But I'll be on it eventually.
You don't know when they're going to be listening to this episode, so it could be next year for all they know.
Exactly.
The episodes of 2022.
Yeah, but ADHD Babes is where you'll find me. So I'm part of the group chat. So if anyone's listening, they can contact me through there.
Lovely. Shauna, any promo?
I'm on socials when I'm on socials, which is intermittently. I've always had a love-hate relationship with socials, but my handle is at Shay_Cam SHAYE_CAM. But I'm pretty much living the show notes, so you probably know that already.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us know if you've been burned out. Is it burned out or burnt out?
Burnt.
Burnt, yes.
I think so.
Yeah. Yes. Let us know if you've been burnt out, listeners. What factors have contributed to your burnout and how did you recover? So thanks for joining us for this episode. Please feel free to follow our podcast so you don't miss future episodes, and follow at ADHD Babes on socials to continue the conversation. ADHD Babes members can also join the conversation on our members only Discord and WhatsApp groups. So consider signing up and supporting us in doing more great work to support you, our wonderful community of ADHD Babes. Once again, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating and a review and let everyone know your thoughts. Yeah, I've seen recently on podcasts that they say, if it's nothing but a 5-star, don't leave it. I don't know.
I'm just saying, yeah, we've got plenty of 5-star. We're our average is 5-star.
But also that energy. Love that. Yeah, no. I kind of find that as bullying, but I see it. Like, so many people are like, if it's not a 5-star, they won't leave a review. But no, please leave a review. You know, we'd appreciate it. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. If you're a Black woman or non-binary person and need help and support in managing your ADHD or advice on diagnosis, please visit adhdbabes.com. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. Join us in 2 weeks for a new episode. Until then, all the love from the ADHD Babes team.
Just as I am, can you take me just as I am?